Recently, I was on Twitter, and I received a question from someone all the way in Croatia. And I have lots of people that watch in different countries, and it's fantastic. And so when there's a question that I feel relates to many other people as well, I want to try and answer that as soon as possible. So for you, those of you that are in Europe, but especially for you that are in Croatia that asked me this question, I really wanted to answer it. And the question was, for those of you early on in recovery, what do you do about anniversaries? Not just anniversaries of the infidelity, because I've done a video blog on that, but your marriage anniversary. How do you celebrate your marriage anniversary when there's been infidelity? And there's kind of two roads. The first road, some people take a very hard approach to saying, that marriage is over, we're not even going to celebrate it, we're not going to annul it, but that anniversary date doesn't really mean anything. We're going to start a new marriage with new anniversary dates or the same date, but this is a new marriage and we're only going to celebrate that. We're not going to keep, celebrating a marriage that failed miserably. I understand that. We didn't do it that way, but you may take that approach and you may just decide we're going to have a new anniversary. And while we aren't going to annul our old marriage, we're only going to celebrate the years moving forward. Now, what we did is we didn't annul or throw away our old marriage. We had been married 10 years when my affair came out. And we've been married close to 22 years now. And so we don't just say we've been married 12 years. We say we've been married 22 years. It's been a hell of a 22-year story, yes. And we have continued to celebrate it. For those of you that are trying to celebrate your anniversary despite infidelity, I would tell you that early on you need to expect there to be sadness and grief and warfare. When you come to these anniversary dates, there's something that is triggered inside of us that is usually sadness and despair. It brings it to the forefront. It's like it was just last week or last month. I mean, it all comes back to center stage, and it's totally normal. You should expect this type of turmoil for somewhere between 6 to 8 months to as much as maybe 2 or 3 years, that date or certain dates are just going to hurt like hell. What I would encourage you to do is to develop new habits, new celebratory things that you would do to create a new pathway for recovery. At our 1-year anniversary of D-Day, it just happened to be very close to our 11-year anniversary. And so what I did is I wanted to kind of distract Samantha from where I knew she could go mentally and emotionally, but I also wanted to create also some new patterns. And so what I did is I spent a lot of money on a hotel room at the Four Seasons Hotel here in Austin overlooking the river. It was beautiful, it was majestic, it was awesome, and Samantha loved it. And she said to me, do not talk about anything that will trigger me. I don't want to talk about history. I don't want to talk about the past. I don't want to hear a date. I don't want to do anything. I don't even want to get super anniversary-ish. I just want to go out to dinner, have a few drinks, and have a great time. If we're physically intimate, we are. If we're not, we're not. That's all I want to do. And I said, totally fine. You see, I had a plan. My plan was we would go, we would swim and hang out, read, and just kind of have some downtime, come back to the hotel, get ready, go out for a great dinner, have some drinks, not drink too much, because I knew if we drank too much, there would be the opportunity for upheaval and saying things that we didn't mean. Our inhibitions, you are old enough to do the math of what could go wrong. We had a fantastic time, but there were untouchables, and I knew I would not talk or reference or anything as best I could. And Samantha also knew there was untouchables for her. We had some boundaries that she would decide if we were physically intimate or not. That was not going to be up to me. And we committed to that beforehand. And so you've got to have a plan. I would plan on, and being very granular, plan on, hey, if you, my betrayed spouse, have incredible reminders or triggers or what have you, I need you to just tell me that you need some time. I need you to just say, hey, can you leave me alone for a little while? And things like that, that would be able to be effective to not have a blowout on such an emotional day, on a day that could create so much more pain and so much more hurt because the emotions are running twice as high when you're within an anniversary date. So be intentional. Pursue new life. Pursue new ways of celebrating. Pursue new ceremonial things that you do that will prevent you from doing these things. What you don't want to do is just sit and hurt. You don't want to just sit in the pain and be despairing. You don't want to just sit and be paralyzed by the pain and the overwhelming emotions of it. You want to be productive. You want to be intentional, because I promise you, despair and hopelessness and discouragement is waiting for you to come and curl up in the fetal position and simply feel terrible. Finally, there's really nothing wrong with taking this approach. When you know an anniversary date is somewhere within, and this is going to scare you, but somewhere within a month or two, maybe a few weeks, there's nothing wrong with going to your spouse and saying, well, we both know that an anniversary date is coming soon. And incidentally, I know that you are, Samuel, do I really need to bring it up? Can't we just pretend and not talk about it? No, that's the worst thing you can do, because it's going to beat the hell out of you, because you are not being intentional and you were just kind of letting things happen. And what's probably going to happen, especially early on in recovery, is emotions are going to run ragged. Your spouse who is betrayed are going to feel all these emotions, and you're going to have sit back and just kind of let it happen if you're an unfaithful, and just go, oh my gosh, I never saw this coming. So learn from me. It's coming. It's probably coming with a vengeance too. And one of the best things that you can do is sit down with your betrayed spouse and say, now, I know that this date could be very painful. What do you feel like you would like to do? Or would you like to take a few days and think about what you'd like to do? And then respect their choices. If they say, I don't want to do anything, I want it to be a regular day, do that. If they say, I want to distract ourselves, I want to do things and not have to sit in despair, do that. And talk about it. Have a plan. Be intentional, because I promise you, if you're not, you're probably going to get the crap beat out of you. If you can at least be intentional and at least start to put some planning behind it, I think it will be incredibly easier.